Thought I'd quick squeeze in polishing my own nails before bedtime, and since I was going to be polishing them anyway, it seemed like a great opportunity to take the time to show you the difference really between using Dazzle Dry and using another type of nail polish. Even though the other nail polish is still a long wear, the application is really what trips a lot of people up on Dazzle Dry. If they're not getting the really 2-week wear that they're looking for, it tends to come down to trying to apply Dazzle Dry the same way as you apply everything else. So being that we're visual people as nail professionals, it seemed like it would be helpful to go ahead and throw the camera on, even though I'm clearly ready for bed, and show you visually some of the just small subtle differences between that Dazzle Dry application and a traditional application, so that you could really see for yourself some of those things that would really help your application so that you get those performance results that you're looking for from Dazzle Dry. The first really discernible difference is going to be in the prep. Most polishes, you're going to use some sort of cleanser, and really you could even use acetone for some brands depending on what you're using. And those cleansers are going to be dehydrating. As you can see, my nails have taken on kind of a chalky appearance on the nails that I'm going to use a traditional polish. On the nails that I'm going to use Dazzle Dry, I'm going to use the Dazzle Dry nail prep. The difference in this nail prep is that it's not dehydrating. So that is going to be your point of difference right from the beginning of the service. So if you've been going ahead and using a cleanser that you already have, or acetone or alcohol for your nail prep, you're already starting the service off and not giving it the opportunity to be successful, because you're dehydrating the nail right from the prep, when actually the Dazzle Dry polish doesn't need for the nail to be dehydrated. You can see here that those nails are not getting chalky like the other nails did. So that is your first point of difference, is in the nail prep. The second point of difference is going to be in the base coat application. Your Dazzle Dry base coat needs to be set in a warm cup of water so that it becomes clear. That helps get those rubber polymers up to the proper temperature. So you want it to be nice and clear for application. And I'm only going to make you suffer through a couple nails of application. I'm not going to have you watch me polish my entire hand. One of the things is going to be making sure you get your edges sealed. I usually just wipe off some of the excess polish so that it's not dripping off my brush when I seal the end. Seal the end, and then come in and push the polish back to get full coverage on the nail. So just wipe off some of the excess, seal the end. And notice that I'm not really trying to get that Dazzle Dry base coat super thin. That's another point of difference. Let's go ahead and switch over to the other hand so that you have a comparison while that Dazzle Dry base coat is fresh in your mind. With this one, I really want to clean the brush off so that I don't have any excess base coat, because I want this one to be as thin as possible. With traditional polishes, you want your layers of polish, every single layer, to be very thin. So we're cleaning the brush off at the bottle so there's not a lot of excess on the brush, because we want the layer on the nail to be extremely thin. That way, when we apply, it has the opportunity to go on thin and dry quickly. And you'll see the Dazzle Dry base coat is already starting to dry. It's getting a nice matte finish. When the base coat on your Dazzle Dry hand is matte, before you do the color layer, you actually want to apply a second layer of base coat. So this hand isn't ready for the color layer yet. We're gonna apply a second layer of base coat. And just like the first layer, this does not have to be squeegeed on super thin like you would normally do with traditional polish. This can go on at a fairly medium thickness. You don't want to smear it on like frosting, super thick. But you do want to be a little more generous than you normally would. The other hand is ready for color application. You want to make sure you're getting it nice and thin. So wipe the brush off really well in the bottle. Making sure you're sealing the edges of the nail with each layer on your applications on the Dazzle Dry or the traditional polish. Once your Dazzle Dry base coat is again somewhat matte, it has dried, and you're ready to apply color. You want your brush to basically float down the nail in the polish. You'll just finish with your hands with that color layer. Then your traditional polish hand, second layer color. Again, thin layers when you apply color of traditional polish. And any questions you have about products used, you'll find in the caption. So just check down in the caption for any questions on, oh, what specific color did you use? Or anything like that. All of that is listed in the caption below. So just nice thin color application when you're using traditional color. And you can see there's really a difference in the brush load with Dazzle Dry versus a traditional polish, and yet the Dazzle Dry color is drying just as fast as the traditional polish. This layer of Dazzle Dry, even though it was a more generous application, is already turning matte because it's already drying. Your second layer of color application on your Dazzle Dry is going to be just as slightly generous as the first layer. So you're just basically wiping one side of the brush on the bottle instead of 1.5 sides like you would with traditional polish. And just in case you need a visual on that, normally with traditional polish, I would wipe one full side of the brush, let it bleed down, and then wipe about half, so that I really had a small amount on the brush. With Dazzle Dry, I just bring it up and wipe one side of the brush. I don't let it bleed off. That way there's plenty of color to get that nice medium thickness of application and use the brush to float along the product so I get that smooth medium application. Top coat application on a traditional polish. You're going to want to make sure that it's thin, again, so that it dries in the time it's promised to dry. Because if you get that top coat too thick, it's not going to dry in the time that it said it would. It also could dent later down the road in an hour or so because you've gotten some of the layers too thick. So you want to make sure that you're not applying that too thickly. Get your edges all sealed. Make sure you've left a little bit of margin around your color to seal everything in. And then let's take a look at Dazzle Dry Top Coat. Common theme for the video, the Dazzle Dry goes on a little thicker than the traditional. Make sure you're sealing your edge. And this layer is not going to dry matte. So you won't have to worry about knowing that it's dry by it turning matte. The way that you'll know your top coat is finished for Dazzle Dry is you will literally be able to set a timer for 5 minutes. So by the time you finish applying your top coat to all 10 nails, you can set a timer for 5 minutes. So seal all of your edges. Make sure you've left a little bit of a margin so you can seal that color in. It's so incredibly cool to be able to actually set a timer for 5 minutes for something like nail polish, especially if you've done Dazzle Dry for a service like toes, or if you put it on someone's granddaughter that they brought in to get their nails done, etc. And even if you're not really offering polish in the salon outside of toes, or you have very few clients that wear polish, the fact that it dries in 5 minutes is really handy. Or if you're doing this on yourself at home. Some very important things to remember about Dazzle Dry when it's drying is not to blow on it, not to use any sort of drying drops or drying spray, because it will mar the finish. I've accidentally waved my hands around trying to shoo the dog away or wave down one of the kids for something and gotten funny little wrinkles in the top coat because it thought I was trying to wave it dry. So make sure that you're not doing anything trying to help it dry. You're just letting it hang out for the full 5 minutes, and you'll have a beautiful, completely dry finish at the end of those 5 minutes. Another cool feature about Dazzle Dry is the revive. So if you notice one of your colors or your top coat starting to get slightly thick, you can go ahead and start adding some drops of the revive to get it back to that brand new consistency that what it was when you first got it. And that keeps your Dazzle Dry brand new consistency usable all the way down to the last drop. So keep that in mind. And hopefully with these little visual tips and tricks in that difference in application, that will make Dazzle Dry much easier for you to use and understand the differences, and you'll get that full 2-week wear that you're expecting out of it. As you can see, our 5 minutes is coming to an end. And the Dazzle Dry is now completely dry. And we could put oil on it. We could run to the bathroom if we had to. We could start the car, put a seatbelt on, all those fun things that you would normally need to do when you are done getting your nails done. So I hope this helped. Thanks for joining me. Had lots of fun. And now I am off to let this other hand finish drying and get some sleep. Take care. Love to see your questions in the comments. Remember, all the color information and products used will be in the caption.